A multi-state high-speed chase ends in Fort Smith. Coming up, we have video of the crash and the condition of the suspect involved.
A recent audit into funds for private school Arkansas students finds some were used for students who switched to public schools.
Live, local, late breaking. This is 4029 News at 6.
Well, happening now in Fort Smith, Peacemaker Festival, it is back. This is a live look at the annual festival from the Fort Smith riverfront. Lots of people out there just enjoying this nice weather. So the weekend has a lineup of country music artists. Gates are open now. You still have time to get out tomorrow. The gates open at 2. And, you know, not too hot to bring out the cowboy boots either.
Looks like a good time out there. You know, the weekend has arrived. Maybe you have plans. Maybe it's Peacemaker Festival. Maybe it's something else.
Yeah, let's get a check of that forecast with Chief Meteorologist Darby Bybee.
Great night for football, Darby. Maybe just anything outdoors.
Yeah, anything. Whatever you got planned this evening, we're still looking good. We have been tracking some spotty.
Fort Smith man facing felony firearm and fleeing charges after being accused of leading Oklahoma Drug Task Force agents on a dangerous high-speed pursuit across state lines and through a city.
So 4029's Brett Rains is in Fort Smith with a first look at police dash cam footage of that chase. Well, police say that they've arrested a man in connection to a deadly hit-and-run accident in Springdale. This happened yesterday at the intersection of Thompson Street and Don Tyson Parkway. Juliet Jibui-Kamanta was riding her bike when she was hit by a white Honda Pilot. She was taken to a local hospital where she later died. Now, Springdale police say that Jose Medina admitted to being involved in that incident. He's being charged with leaving the scene of an accident involving death.
Well, today a 4th grader was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries in Bentonville. According to Bentonville police, it happened at the intersection of Sears Road and South Morningstar. Happened just before 7 a.m. Police say the accident currently under investigation. We turn to our commitment coverage. Arkansas's governor calling for a special election to fill the vacancy for District 70's state representative after Carlton Wing resigned back in late September. Arkansas law requires the governor to set a date for a special election to fill the vacancy as soon as possible after a vacancy occurs. We're told that special election is going to be held Tuesday, March 3rd of next year.
Well, members of the Arkansas and Oklahoma Departments of Transportation met today to discuss work zone safety. Arkansas transportation officials say speed enforcement cameras have cut work zone crashes by up to 30%. Now, Oklahoma officials are taking a closer look after RDOT showed them how exactly the cameras work.
We love to share technology in this industry, in the DOT world, so we hope they get to take this back home, pass some legislation in their state, maybe even better legislation than we have, and improve safety in Oklahoma, because I have ideas for our legislation for next session. I want to start tackling folks in the mobile work zone, or folks in the work zone using mobile phones. And so I'd like to see that be automated next time as well.
So Oklahoma officials say that they're interested in implementing work zone safety laws like those in Arkansas. A recent audit is finding issues with Arkansas's education freedom accounts. So those are those state-funded accounts that pay for a student to do private or homeschooling.
We identified 239 students with potential duplicate enrollment in a public school during the 23-24 school year, which could result in duplicate funding to either the public school or to the EFA provider.
Now, this means that the state may have paid for students to go to a private school, but the students then switch back to public. Officials say they are making sure that this doesn't happen again. They say each student has an identifying number. They're also working with public schools to make sure that there isn't any overlap.
The Trump administration has filed a notice of appeal. This after a federal judge granted a temporary restraining order blocking the deployment of National Guard troops in Illinois for 2 weeks. So in the ruling, the judge says she sees, quote, no credible evidence of a rebellion in the state. Her ruling added that a deployment of troops could spark civil unrest. Now, meanwhile, a case about deployment of Oregon National Guard, well, still under consideration and in a separate ruling. This is video of a Chicago pastor repeatedly shot by pepper balls. This was during a demonstration outside the Broadview facility. It led a different federal judge to grant a temporary restraining order limiting the types of force and crowd control measures that federal agents can use against protesters.
There was no warning for any of these things. After they shot me in my head and my face and multiple times in my torso, arms, and legs, it was indiscriminate and it was vicious.
So the Department of Homeland Security has defended the agent's actions. saying protesters blocked agents and threw rocks and bottles.
Now, meanwhile, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, he says while he supports Trump's law and order push, he opposes sending National Guard troops across state borders without permission from the receiving state. His office called it a, quote, very dangerous precedent. Stitt is chair of the National Governors Association, a bipartisan group that Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and California Governor Gavin Newsom have threatened to leave over its silence on troop deployments. The organization still has not taken a formal stance. Well, today is payday for most of the federal workforce, and some are only receiving parts of their paycheck.
Yeah, it's also the final check that millions of government workers expect to receive until Congress turns the lights back on at the Capitol. Some won't have to work to return to. The Office of Management and Budget confirms today layoffs have begun and that they are, quote, substantial. Meanwhile, a Health and Human Services spokesperson says the department sent layoff notices across multiple divisions, quote, as a direct consequence of the Democrat-led government shutdown, end quote. Now, this comes as military families in Fort Hood, Texas, wait in line for 2 hours this morning to receive food from a local pantry.
We've come a couple times before, but we haven't felt the actual need to come until the government shut down.
Now, it's unclear how many people have been laid off so far, but the White House last week said the cuts would likely be in the thousands.
And many Americans not feeling too keen about this U.S. economy right now. So according to a report from the University of Michigan, the Consumer Sentiment Index is at a reading of 55 points. That's the 7th low mark since 1952 and a level rarely seen since the World War II era. And this as more Americans are having trouble to make their car payments. A recent report from J.D. Power shows that the percentage of new car buyers who have credit scores below 650 was close to 14% last month. That's the highest amount in 9 years. And more of those buyers who take on Supreme auto loans have been having troubles making payments. Findings from Fitch Ratings also show that more than 6% were at least 60 days overdue on payments this year. That's a new high.
Well, today, President Trump threatening a massive increase to tariffs on Chinese products. It comes after Chinese President Xi Jinping restricted exports of rare earth minerals needed for American industry. The president adds, quotes, there are many other countermeasures that are likewise under serious consideration. Now, that tariff threat, it caused Wall Street to have its worst day since April. Dow Jones down 878 points, NASDAQ down 820 points, and the S&P 500 was down 182. As for our NWA stocks, Walmart and Tyson Foods both landed in the green, but barely. J.B. Hunt was down more than $5 a share. Authorities on the scene in Tennessee say multiple people are dead after a major explosion at an explosives manufacturing plant.
So that explosion happened in Hickman County. The mayor says at least 19 people are unaccounted for.
Yeah, the explosion heard for miles in Tennessee after it happened about 7:45 this morning. What you're about to hear was captured by doorbell camera nearly 14 miles away.
Can I describe the building? There's nothing to describe. It's gone.
The ATF and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation responded to that scene. The sheriff says the investigation into the cause of the explosion will take days. This as crews sift through the piles of rubble. Well, the First Lady working to reunite Ukrainian children with their families amid the war.
Yeah, we'll tell you how she's working in both countries. Plus,
a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is now underway. I'm Christopher Salas at the White House with President Trump's planned trip to the Middle East.
Coming up, the passenger who cops say called in a bomb scare in hopes the plane would return to the gate so that he could board. Inside Edition after the news.